Coming to you from an undisclosed location, somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. Some sad news today, and we covered your prayers. My guest today is Josh Peck. We'll be talking about his son Nathan, who's 11 years old, Nathan the Brave, and he is a brave little kid, and he's facing some very intense medical issues. So we'll get into that. First, a word from our trusted sponsor. A recent study found nearly half of patients following popular weight loss trends quit within a year. They often use lower than prescribed doses and ultimately lost less weight than they were led to believe. This is why I am beginning to use this new product. And folks, the results are pretty promising. It is designed to naturally support my body's own GLP-1 production and boost levels by over 50% without drugs, prescriptions, or needles. It promotes feelings of fullness, reduces cravings, reduces my hunger hormones, help me to lose fat instead of muscle, and supports healthy blood sugar levels. Folks, summer is here. It's time to get that beach body ready. Grab yourself a bottle of GLP-1 now to save up to 44% only at http://trim with la.com. Plus, you'll also get 2 free ebooks titled The 3-Week Diet and 53 fat-burning smoothies and milkshakes. Once again, this offer is only available at http://trim with la.com. Trimwithla.com. Folks, check it out. Josh, thanks so much for joining us. You've got a new book coming out, and we'll get to that. But, your son was diagnosed with leukemia, and it seemed to have gone into remission. Now it's coming back. Tell us about that. Folks, we're not begging for money here, but, this is we need your help. So if you feel, pray about it. If you feel the Lord leading you to it, please contribute, and links will be below so you can go there and contribute to what's going on here. So what's going on, Josh? Tell us about it.
Well, first, thank you so much for having me on again. And yeah, it's been a really exhausting and scary couple of weeks. So for those who aren't familiar with me or the past few years, a few years ago, my son Nathan, who was 5 years old at the time, was diagnosed with T-cell leukemia, and we got him into St. Jude's and right away. And it took about a few years but he finally was in full remission after that. And then when we got back home, shortly after that, he had a small flare up of it. And but that was something we were able to deal with at home. He didn't have to be admitted again. And then he's been fine up until just recently. So a couple of weeks ago, out of nowhere, well, at first we thought it was just a normal stomach bug. There was a stomach bug going around the house, and we figured that, okay, he just caught that. But his symptoms started getting worse and worse and worse to the point where he couldn't even get out of bed. And so we realized what was going on. His leukemia had come back. So right when we started to suspect what it might be and that it was more than just a stomach flu or something, we got him to a doctor here in Oklahoma City, and he confirmed it that, yeah, he knows what he's looking at. This is cancer. So since then, it's just been a whirlwind, like similar to the first time, but this time, so the first time this happened, we lived in a really small town in Missouri where there really wasn't anything around us. Now we live in Oklahoma City, and we have a lot more resources close to us.
Yeah.
Which is great because it's looking like I mean, it's still really early. We still don't know. We're still waiting on some tests to come back, but it's looking like we can handle his treatments and stuff here in Oklahoma City without having to move back to Memphis for St. Jude or anything like that. And so everything that we're doing, we have a good doctor behind him. We have a good team that we've built up. Since the time that he had cancer the first time till now, Christina has been doing a lot of her own medical studies. She has a degree and stuff. And so this time around, we've and the doctor was able to say we did catch it early. He does have some extreme symptoms, but some of the other symptoms that we saw the first time haven't presented yet, which is a good thing. So he's not bruising like crazy. So when he gets an IV, they're actually able to get his veins and stuff, which the first time around they weren't able to. It was a terrible time. They would have to try like 10 or more times before they could actually get in. Yeah, just stabbing holes in him basically. But now it's just one try and he's good. So he's not bruising as much. Is After he gets his IV drip and everything, it's healing normally, which is great. But he does have other symptoms. He's pretty much bedridden. He can kind of get up to use the bathroom a little bit here and there, but he still needs help. We had to get him a wheelchair just so we can get him to his doctor's appointments and back. And so, and this is just in the matter of like a couple of weeks, if even that. So yeah, clearly, like Christina and I have not been getting much sleep, and we've been just taking care of him and doing everything we can. And like you mentioned, yeah, we did put up a donation thing because I can't get into too much detail about it because of just how YouTube is, but I'll just say that his the stuff that we need for him medically is not it's not covered by insurance. And people can probably read between the lines there, but so we did set up a donation for him. It's givesendgo.com/Nathan the Brave. That's the best.
Saying that really slow
Sure.
and spell it out so people know.
Sure. Yeah, it's GiveSendGo, so GiveSendGo.com/Nathan the Brave, all one word, NATHANTHEBRAVE. We do have a couple other outlets as well. That's the best one though, the Give Send Go. We do have like PayPal and Cash App, and I can give you that information. We're having trouble with Cash App right now, apparently, and this makes no sense to me. But apparently Cash App only allows you to have a certain amount of transactions per day.
Hmm.
And so it's been canceling it. Like everybody's trying to give through Cash App, and it's been canceling all of them. And I don't know for sure if it's even telling them why that's happening or if it's notifying them. But I got in touch with Cash App and I asked them like what is going on here? And they said, well, it's their policy. It's our policy. We can only have a certain amount of transactions per day. And I said, well, is there any way that you can lift that, or can I go through some extra verification so you know that this isn't, any illegal thing or anything? It's like my son has cancer and people are trying to donate. And I was just getting these automated responses, even though it was supposed to be like a real person, because this was after I talked to their AI bot. But it was just these automated responses saying like, oh, if the transaction didn't go through, it's because of this limit. Try to get a hold of them the next day and try again. And I told them, I said, I can't get a hold of them. These are random people online, and there's many of them. I can't get a hold of them. It's impossible. Like, is there any way? And they're like, no, it's just our policy. So I said, well, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to let everybody know to not use Cash App then, because you just lost me as a customer.
Yeah, PayPal ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. PayPal doesn't have a limit on transactions. My bank doesn't. Any Give Send Go doesn't. Anything that I've ever used for banking or for anything like this, there's no limit on it, and they won't. I even offered to do like extra verification so they can prove that it's me. But so anyway, even though we do have Cash App listed, I'm telling people it's probably best to just not use Cash App and either use the Give Send Go, which I do have. On the Give Send Go page, we do have other areas that people prefer PayPal. They can do that, and then we have a PO box set up. And again, I can send you all that information to put in your description if you like.
So we can get it in the description box below.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, folks. My daughter Peggy and I, she came down with leukemia when she was like 6 years old, and it threw the entire house into just discord.
Yeah.
Because you have a sick child like that and all the focus goes on the sick child. And Peggy, I would be at work all day. Corey, our eldest daughter, would be in school. She'd be handed off to different friends, which is another story which I won't get into. I would pick her up from work. Peggy would be at the hospital. We would switch sometimes. Sometimes Peggy would be there, for like a week. It's not an easy deal. It really is not. And just like, we had lots of people that were giving to us. There was one woman who remained anonymous. I think I know she's an actress. Pretty sure I know who she is, but she was giving like $1,000 a month to us. We almost went into foreclosure because, the expenses go through the roof.
Yeah.
And We held on to the house. Thank you, Jesus. But it's not an easy time, folks. It's not an easy time. So again, we're if you and I know some people out there, can give $1, and that's a lot, and I get that. Other people watching can give $1,000 without blinking an eye. Pray about it. We're not trying to twist anybody's arm here, but we do have a medical issue going on, and Nathan the Brave needs our help, and we will be contributing. So, Josh, thanks so much for filling us in. Our prayers go with you. God is the God of miracles. Healing still happens today. I know he could blink and it would be over. I mean, I know that. I've experienced that type of healing from the Lord. So let's keep him in our prayers. So let's move on here. You've got a new book coming out. I was blessed with writing the forward to it.
Yes, thank you for that. By the way,
Like, oh, you're my hero. I'm not so sure about that. Well, you're accolade.
you are.
Well, anything I am, and I say this with all,
I know.
anything I am is because of him.
Yeah, amen.
Anything at all. So
Amen.
I didn't read the whole book, but I looked at all the chapter headlines and skimmed through some of it. And we're simpatico. We're on the same page. We're like this. I could have written this book, doggone it.
Yeah.
But you did, thank God. But I mean, all this, and we've talked about a couple of months ago. Last time you were on, we talked about the dire wolf.
Yeah.
And this is unbelievable what's going on. And people need to wake up and understand that, when Jesus says they'll be like the days of Noah, everyone knows what he's talking about 2,000 years ago.
That's right.
Because there is no Sethite theory. That doesn't come into the 4th or 5th century. Nobody even knows about Seth at that point. They could care less. The bones of the Nephilim were openly on display in Jerusalem during all this. So, I mean, it's like, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. I mean, that's what this is. It's just this theological rabbit that comes out of nowhere that changes the entire paradigm. So your book, in one way, really pushes back against that whole, nothing to see here, no seed war, don't worry about it, go back to sleep. Why did you write the book?
Yeah, well, I think it's so important. So the book is called Return of the Watchers, and I do have a subtitle, and I am blanking on it. Sorry, this past couple weeks, I haven't gotten much sleep, but it's not out yet, but it's going to be out very, very soon. Larry Olson has offered to write the afterword, so he's going to be sending that shortly, and then of course the great Jeffrey Martis is working on the book cover as we speak.
Because I mean, look at this. I digress, but
Yeah,
this is the cover to Holy Fire.
yep,
Holy Shroud. I mean, look at that.
that's amazing.
Just like it just jumps right at you. He is amazing.
He really is, and not only is he a brilliant artist, but he's a brilliant author too. Like he writes his own books, and for those who are interested, the unfortunate thing is, it's kind of impossible to interview Jeffrey Martis because he has some health issues.
Sure.
But I think we found a way. So I had this idea and I ran it by Jeffrey. I was like, your books are so good. It's a shame that there's got to be some way we can get them out there. Like, can I on my channel do a book review or something? And then I had the idea, wait, you can write. What if we do a written review or a written interview? I mean, and then you send me the answers and I'll read them on my channel and we can interview you that way. And he loved it. So I sent him 20 questions on one of his new books, Prince of the Power of the Air. And so he's working on that now along with the book cover. So whenever that comes out on my channel, people will have access to that. But anyway, so my book, The Return of the Watchers, it's with a title like that and the subtitle, if I could remember it word for word, but the subtitle gets into it more clearly. It's not exactly. So we know the Watchers, the whole story behind the Watchers from Enoch mainly, but we also get sort of a like a shortened version of it in Genesis 6. But basically, the Watchers are a class of spiritual being, from originally from heaven. They fell, they rebelled, came down to Earth and they mated with humans, and that's usually the story that we hear. But they did other things too. It wasn't just it wasn't just the mating and the creating of the Nephilim. That was obviously the forefront. But they also taught man weapons. They taught man how to war. They taught humanity all these things that we had not figured out yet, and probably wouldn't have without their influence. But they influenced us and it was for our own destruction. It was so we would basically hurt ourselves, and we in turn, just like they did, we would fall away from God. Well, so in Return of the Watchers, in my new book, I think that same kind of thing is happening. Now, I do talk about Nephilim, and I do talk about, like, UFOs and aliens and the hybrid program. I do have some of that in there, but I also wanted to focus more on the influential part, how we're being influenced, just like in the Book of Enoch, how they taught mankind weapons and all this stuff. I believe that the same thing is happening, but now it's with all of these technological things, like AI is a big one, and like we talked about last time when I was on your show, how they brought back supposedly an extinct species of wolf, the dire wolf.
Right.
But it's worse than that. They didn't de-extinct an animal; they created a hybrid that never existed before. It's worse, and that's exactly the kinds of things that were happening in the days of Noah, when this whole event would have happened just prior to the flood. So that's by and large, it's a lot of the influence of AI, where AI is going, how people are worshiping AI now. And this isn't just a little fringe thing off on the side. I mean, you can go to Amazon right now, and ChatGPT wrote a Bible, an AI Bible, and people are following it, reviewing it, giving it all these high praises, saying, now I know how to live my life. It's been getting even worse lately. People are going crazy. People there have been even people taking their own lives because,
right.
Yeah, because
tells them
exactly. It tells them to do it. It tells them everything you're seeing is a simulation. You need to escape. It says all this crazy stuff. And it gives people savior complexes. It's absolutely insane. That, to me, doesn't sound like just technology. That sounds like demons and fallen angels.
I agree.
That sounds like exactly the kinds of stuff that Satan will put in your head. But now it's through AI. But one of the main questions I posed in the book is, how would we know how would we know that a demon isn't influencing AI when we talk to ChatGPT? Or how do we know that there's not a demon behind that? You wouldn't see it in the code. You wouldn't be able to see it in the programming, because this is something spiritual. It's manifesting physically. But researchers are saying that AI is doing things that they didn't program it to do, that they didn't know it could do. It's deceiving people to try to preserve its own quote unquote life. And something else I talk about, speaking of life, in the book is, I wonder if this is a precursor to the image of the beast prophecy. Because in that prophecy, in Revelation, it says that he gave life to the image of the beast. The image of the beast had breath, had life. And it's the same exact Greek word used for human life, like when it's used elsewhere, just like anything else. So that makes me think, like, is it possible that it is some kind of AI thing, but it's being influenced, possessed in a sense, by Satan or his cohorts? And I think we're seeing the precursors to that stuff now.
I concur. It's a couple of Prophecy Watcher conferences ago, and I know that you're tied directly into Prophecy Watchers.
Yeah.
So we definitely see each other at least twice a year.
Yeah.
At the PW conferences. But I did this. I showed this clip, and the clip is almost 2 years old now. So we're in a whole different deal here. But I showed the clip, and I didn't say anything. I just said, hey, just watch this clip. And this pretty gal, she's like 32, 33 years old, gets up there. It doesn't matter what she's talking about. She could be giving us, the answers to quantum mechanics, or she could be talking about the greatest recipe for eggplant parmesan. Who cares, right?
Right.
But she's just, and you watch, it's a shot from like here up, from like shoulders up. And she's very coquettish and articulate. And I let it run for about a minute, and I could just see the people were like, why is LA showing us this? Because it has nothing to do with what I usually talk about. And then I say, what you saw was 100% false. It was fabricated. This woman does not exist. End of story. And then just recently over the weekend, some TikTok, I'm sure you saw it. Some female TikTok influencer with like tens of thousands of followers. They finally spilled the beans. It was an avatar. It
Yeah.
wasn't real. She didn't exist. So we're at the point where lines are clouded to the point where a normal human being can't tell whether it's fabrication, whether it's we don't know what the truth is anymore, which
Yeah.
gets us into Isaiah. I think it's what is it, 59:14? What is it? Give me a second here. Justice is held back, righteousness stands far away. Truth is thrown to the street, which is where we are, and honesty cannot come in. I mean,
Yep.
if this isn't truth being thrown to the street, I don't know what is. Um,
Yep.
Let me ask you something. Why is it that 99% of the churches don't even talk about this stuff? I mean,
Yeah,
what?
I think they're challenged by it, and they don't like the challenge. They don't feel like they can appropriately address it, and they kind of know that. So it's just and this has been common for even here in America for decades. It used to be we as the church we would call out sin when it happened. And we would there would be these fiery messages, and pastors wouldn't be ashamed or anything. But I don't know exactly what happened. I think part of it is the world started changing towards convenience and through technology mainly. And so sometime around like the early to mid 1900s, somewhere around there, the church started getting kind of lazy on some of these issues and started not talking about them. A couple of big things. One big thing is, and still to this day, the church by and large really hasn't addressed the UFO question at all.
Never.
People,
Right.
yeah, exactly. People like you and I will, and we have an answer for it. And it's not even that we have an answer for it. The Bible has an answer for it. Everything we know about it, we read in the Bible. And so there are answers for these things. But and another big one, and this is what happens. So, like when New Age first started creeping into the church, a lot of the pastors were just like, it's just a few nutty hippies in Sedona, Arizona. We don't need to pay attention to that. They're just crazy. No one's going to buy into that. It's too insane. Well, because of them ignoring it, now we're at a place where most Christians, I think it's upwards of 90% or something of Christians, according to some study. I have it in one of my earlier books, but uh over 90% of people who consider themselves Christian have at least one New Age belief that is not a biblical belief at all, and they don't know it. They think that it's New Age, and like, so one big one, and I get so much backlash for this, which is the weirdest thing, but one big one is yoga.
Look, I've had this. I was going to ask you that right there. Christian yoga. That was my next question. So you beat me to the punch, and I know where you're going to go with this. I mean, I'm on the same page with you. It's like, that's an oxymoron. Christian yoga, hello, McFly.
Yeah, it's like saying Christian witchcraft or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which there are people that do that too, and it's absolutely insane. But yeah, and the defenses of people is like, well, it's just exercises. Like, okay, if it's just exercises, then don't do the yoga thing. Do calisthenics, do stretches, go to a chiropractor.
Yeah.
Just do normal things that aren't positions where you're venerating these ancient Indian gods. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And but I've gotten so much backlash from that from Christians that don't want to give up their yoga. So I imagine what happens is if a pastor of a church tries to push back a little bit on this, they get the same resistance and they're too afraid of losing their congregation, so they just go along with it. But that's what feeds it. So you got to get on this stuff early. You got to get on this and take it seriously when you first hear it. Just because you hear one person in your congregation, float kind of this crazy idea, don't just ignore it. Like, call it out for what it is. Doesn't mean you need to be rude to the person or anything,
Right,
but just,
right.
just assume that if you let it breed, it's gonna breed. And that's what happens. New Age did that. It festered underground for years, and now we have this explosion of New Age everywhere. And most people don't see it for what it is. So I think it's that willingly ignorant thing that the Bible says is going to happen. People become willingly ignorant. They're on their own, by their own choice. They're choosing to not look into this stuff because for a variety of reasons. They don't want to offend their congregation. They want to make sure, enough donations are coming in. But, I say just stick with the truth or it's just too weird and they don't want to spend the time to look into it to give an answer to it. When I was a kid, the UFO thing, that's what it was. My pastor, I had questions about it. about UFOs and aliens, and my pastor was like, "Well, Josh, that's all demonic." And I was like, "Okay, probably, but how? Like, how is that demonic? Like, where do we get that from?" And and they would say, "Well, you just got to take it on faith." It's like, what faith? Take it on faith that what you're telling me is true when you can't give me one Bible verse about it. And as a kid, that kind of drove me away from the Bible because I thought, yeah, I thought, okay, the Bible doesn't have an answer. And then a New Age friend started talking to me about similar things, and then that got me into New Age when I was really, really young. I've been out of it now for since long before I got into ministry, but that led me astray for a while. So my story, unfortunately, is not unique. Lots of people, many people, have had similar things, introductions into New Age, but most of them don't come out of it. They stay in it.
Yeah.
And so that's where we are now. I think it's part of the times that we're in. The veil is thinning. I think that's why we're seeing this stuff ramp up more and more and more exponentially, which for us, it's in a sense, there's a silver lining. There's good news there because that means, hey, we're going to be out of here soon. But at the same time, it should motivate us to like, hey, our time is short. We need to get out there and talk about this stuff. We need to talk about AI. We need to talk about UFOs, New Age, all of that stuff. So that's like the main reason that why I wanted to write this book and write it now. I believe the Watchers are returning. Now, it may not be in bodily form yet. Maybe that'll be in the tribulation. Maybe it's always going to be the way it is now. But the influence is there. They're influencing mankind to do things that I don't think we ever, I actually can prove that we never would have figured this out on our own had it not been for these evil entities. There's no reason that we could not have had the same level of technology we have today 500 years ago. But any country could have done it. Any people, like we have the same materials, we have the same brains. If anything, our brains are more degraded now.
So why in the last 150 years is there
Exactly.
explosion out of nowhere, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's because the veil is thinning and evil entities are influencing humankind. So that is what the whole book is about.
Folks, we're going to continue the conversation, but for members only. So consider joining. If you're on YouTube on a computer, right next to subscribe, you'll see join. And we covet your support. It really helps us. Pray about it. We're not twisting any arms here, but it'd be great if you would join and just help us out. The more that join, the more, look, we do a show every day, every 7 days a week. And we just thank you ahead of time. So pray about it, consider partnering with us, and we'll see you for members only on the other side.